Welcome back to the Quantum Guide Show. Today in episode 164, I'm very happy to bring on a new guest, Wolfgang Arndt. Wolfgang was born and educated in West Germany, and he studied fine art and philosophy in Germany. And then he lived for 6 years in India studying yoga. He also lived for 6 years in a spiritual community in America. In his normal life, Wolfgang has used his skills in every position of the printing industry. He also worked as a photographer, a filmmaker, as a cameraman for Channel 4 News in Tucson, Arizona, and as a freelance cameraman for high-end video productions. Wolfgang has experience in firewalking, sweat lodges, Sanskrit teachings, New Age teachings, rebirthing, hands-on healing, breathing techniques, massage, and he taught Kundalini yoga. He has done past life regressions, entity clearing, and his own style of guided meditation for over 3 decades now. Wolfgang takes clients for one-on-one sessions on Skype or Zoom. There he gets people in touch with their higher self and other guidance, while they are not in a trance, but consciously aware. He follows the process of Socrates by asking questions about the root cause of different personal issues and has them cleared once sufficient insight and forgiveness has been gained. Wolfgang routinely helps clients to clear entities, clear past life trauma, get insight into relationships by exploring past life issues, take control of their energy body, activate chakras, and much more. Currently, he has around 23,200 subscribers with about 250 free videos on different topics. Most of them are guided meditations. To find out more about Wolfgang, all of the links are featured below in the description. Do check us out, subscribe to our channels, leave us some comments, and like our videos. Today, we're going to talk about ghosts in our daily life. Be sure to share this fascinating discussion with your friends. Hi, Wolfgang. Welcome to the show. Nice to see you.
Well, thank you for having me. Nice to see you too.
Oh, my pleasure. My pleasure. You're a pretty fascinating guy. We have so much to talk about. And I'm just wondering if for those of you who aren't, for those out there who are not familiar with you, do you want to share a little bit about how you got started in all of this?
Well, since very young, I wanted to know the secrets of life. I mean, really, I looked at society and there was nothing, that I really liked. Artists were the only look up. And, so I studied fine art and also philosophy. The philosophers, I thought, there's where it's at. I mean, religious education I already had, and I picked it apart as social engineering with 14 years. So I didn't look there anymore. I wasn't impressed, I have to say, whatever I saw. So I studied fine art and philosophy, and when I looked at those philosophers, I mean, there was also nothing, to look up to, I found emotionally. I mean, they would switch concepts, I mean, ways of thinking, but that was about it. Very heady society, not really happy. And then, I read this book, I think it was Liechtenstein, very small book, where he said, to prove that your philosophy is right, you have to go to bean counting, empiric research. How does this look in reality, And so, yeah, he said, there we are back to empiricism, and everything else is mental speculation. And I definitely agree with this. At least I learned the craft. And, of course, I also studied Eastern philosophy besides Western. But it's, I mean, these are very important ideas that everybody, I think, should understand, if you want to be at least a decent human being and learn how to operate this, properly. But you know, I had a very traumatic birth. And I don't know whether you know or the client, the people here know, the worse the birth, it's probably your worst trauma, one of your worst trauma in your life. And this surfaces around puberty, this trauma. I mean, there are two different schools of thought. They all agree on this. You know, Leonard Orr and what's the other guy? Dr. Stanislav Off, I think, you know, Grof, I think, yeah, you know, Czechoslovakia. So I followed those processes. I did mantra meditation and so on. And anyhow, so going back, so, you know, I got into deep depression, studied Sartre and Camus, you know, existentialism, which doesn't help. And so I decided to either kill myself, you know, I gave, you know, God about 2 years, you know, or to show me the way to happiness because there was nothing I really enjoyed. You know, and so I've been searching for that, you know, till now. And, you know, I think I've been doing pretty well so far. You know, it was quite a journey and right on point.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. I agree. The birthing process, it can be very traumatic. When I was younger and having my children, I did a lot of research into birthing techniques, and I found the whole Western world uh, basically purposely traumatizes babies when they come into the world. There are ways of doing it where we can be in a darker room, or we can be in comfort, where it's less traumatic to mother, less traumatic to the baby. And you know, there's so many older ways, like Aboriginal ways, even of delivering babies that are much more kinder, you know, than what we go through. So we get born into this hospital setting with all the bright lights. And I don't know if they still do, but they used to hold us up by one leg and spank our behinds to make us cry as soon as we were born. Oh my gosh, what a horrible introduction to life that is. And then I agree with you. Puberty is another time where, you know, at least in my generation, we never really even understood what was going on. It was not something openly talked about, and it was traumatic as well. I agree. I agree. And I also wanted to say something about you know, searching for truth and for the meaning of life. I was very depressed for a number of years, trying to find out why I was here and what purpose I could serve and what the heck was going on. It just didn't make much sense to me. And but it was because of that searching that I went inside and started looking for answers inside rather than outside. I was quite surprised by the answers I received. So I certainly hear you on that. And I think a lot of our listeners and viewers have also spent time being traumatized, being confused, you know, searching, because if mainstream society is all there is, boy, that's just not much of a life as far as I'm concerned. So,
Yeah,
you know,
shaman's death, it's called, you know, shaman's death that, you know, or the hero's journey, you know, you're
mhm,
wounded, you want to fix it, and there you go. If everything would be hunky-dory, you know, there would be no challenge and no hero. You know, it's just a
mhm,
pasty homeboy or girl.
mhm. It it sure is a journey. Now, today we're going to talk a bit about ghosts in our everyday life. I'm wondering if you are going to speak to us about literal ghosts or metaphoric ghosts. You know, like a lot of us have mental ghosts as far as our past plaguing us in the now. Or I'm just wondering if you could clarify a little bit about what you would like to speak to today.
Well, the mental ghost, that's kind of, you know, hanging on and has to do with trauma that has to be released and cleared, you know, go back and heal this. And there are many modalities, you know, that can be done rather fast, you know, if done right. But the, you know, discarnates, you know, these are the thing that nobody's really aware about, even in psychiatry, you know, when you hear ghost. and you tell the wrong man, you're considered a schizophrenic, not as somebody that can hear ghosts and they can plague you. So, I mean, not that I enjoy working with schizophrenics, really not. But I have clients that get completely plagued by ghosts, you know, and I mean harassed, and probably sometimes maybe some people probably go to suicide, thinking they are crazy. So what I find out, well, there's always a good reason for this. And one of them is, well, when you were a slaver or your ancestors were slavers, and they mistreated their slaves and killed them and tortured them and let them starve to death because that was cheaper in old age. They got cursed and they're not going to the heavens. I mean, they're not going into the higher realms. They're just thirsting for revenge. And so they'll do anything to harass you. And they can, generally a ghost can affect somebody else's mind. They can affect your mind, your thought forms, your emotions, and sometimes physical things, depending on their potency. So if you have an old shaman from a black African tribe or some native tribe that just plundered and killed and murdered everybody or enslaved everybody, well, you got an expert there, messing up your life. And so I find that, happens a lot. I mean, that's just, there is war, there is rape, plunder, killing, jealousy. There are all kinds of discarnates that at the time of dying, um, do not go into the love and light. There is revenge, there is pain, there is confusion, there's attachment to your loved ones. What happens to your kids? What happens to your farm, your pets, your factory, or just revenge. So there are many reasons. Or just even guilt and curses or other attachments you have, that keep your vibration down so you cannot go into the light. Guilt. So there are a lot of things that keep them trapped. And they have a huge effect on people's lives. I mean, they screw up marriages, relationships. I mean, if people would know how many ex-lovers are following them around, being jealous and judgmental, they would be horrified, I have to say. Does that resonate with you?
Pardon?
Does that resonate with you?
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. Now, I wanted to just for clarification, because all people who are listening to this show or watching the show come from all different states of awareness. I just want to clarify. So, are you saying that if, say, for instance, me in a past life mistreated people, there is a chance that those beings, if the trauma was great enough, they might stick around and then come to haunt me in my present life? So you're referring to how what we've done in past lives can affect us in the present. Is that correct?
Correct. Absolutely correct. Not just enemies, also supporters, ex-lovers, uncles, grannies. There are women or men that consider themselves as the gatekeeper or gardeners, of this genetic bloodline. And they may like or not like your lover, for certain reasons. Maybe they're completely racist. I mean, these are old-fashioned people. They do not think with us, like us. And so they can create quite some obstacles in your life. I mean, in many traditions, the ancestors are worshipped, and so basically you kind of taken care of some part of the ghost or discarnate problems. The problem with discarnates is that they're still uh, seeing reality with their human perspective that they had. Whatever social conditioning is. They can look different in time, of course, but they still have the same attitudes and values. So that's why they have to be brought into the higher consciousness. You can consider heaven, of course, that's just a nebulous thing, but into the light, I mean, into higher consciousness, and you have to be very specific to make sure they're not going to go into false light heavens. you know. That's a jungle out there. I even had a llama that perfected his rainbow body. And he got stuck in a false light here.
Mm-hmm.
I asked him, how come? I mean, the rainbow body, that's impressive. He said, it's complicated.
Mm-hmm.
you know, we giggled and laughed, and we called help. I called help, and we got busted out. So it's not me that's doing this. I have a lot of helpers that are doing this. I'm just a contractor, so to say. I
Mm-hmm.
know who to call, and that's
So when you say helpers, are you talking about your a spiritual body of beings who also assist you?
yeah,
Mm-hmm.
yeah. Mhm.
And what
And
realms would they come from?
um, that goes all the way to Godhead, depending on the case. You got to always outrank, what is going on. If it's mere humans, you call in, your Atlantean aspect or just your high self, can clear this really fast. If high selves get stuck, on a higher level or Atlantean selves, well, most of the time these are Dracos, and so you call in your Anunnaki level or other Archangel Michael, Jesus, they all wipe the floor with Dracos, and or Archangel, yeah, Archangel Michael, is the general, he's the cup, so I work a lot with him. Sometimes, I call in Hindu deities, that are awesome, like a razor in my shoes. So, um, and there are, and sometimes it's just more like populations, like the Pleiadian. I mean, certain populations where we incarnated, where my client is incarnated, they just need permission, and they can go to town.
Mm-hmm.
Against those races that are, messing with us against law. And I get a lot of them arrested. Off to the highest courts of spiritual justice. So it's kind of fun. Did I answer the question, or did
Oh
we just
yes. Oh
completely
yes,
trip
that's
off
very
here?
good.
Yeah.
But I'm wondering about something else now, and you may call them something different, but a lot of people are concerned about what they call archons, which are like beings that were not previously human, and they're of course invisible to most of us, but they feed off negative energy. And so if they can do things to frighten us or affect our minds so that we're recalling bad experiences, even guilt and remorse to a high degree,
Mhm.
negativity, depression, anxiety. They actually feed off of that energy. In your experience, have you come across anything like that? And do you have any comments about that?
Yeah, all the time. If you look deep enough, I mean, everybody kind of gets plagued from them unless they're squeaky clean. I mean, it's, well, even the most psychic, and I work a lot with healers. We teach
Mm-hmm.
this, so they get plagued by it. So, what you consider archons, I mean, archons were more like considered demigod-like forces
Mm-hmm.
by the Essenes. So, I call them personally archonic attachments. And these are beings that are many times seen like an octopus, means many armed.
Mm-hmm.
Most of the time, they're attached to the sides of the head. And to be specific, for those that know, it's the gallbladder meridian that they're
Mm-hmm.
attaching to, which goes, several times zigzag around the head, the temple, so they have all access to these chakras there, so that's how they can run those mind loops. But they can also, it runs all the side to the body, all the way into the toe. So they can mess with your grounding, and they have access, to the whole system through that. And the gallbladder meridian, according to Chinese medicine, governs directed anger. It's not that anything ticks you off on a specific thing, whether it's taxes or politics, certain themes, or sports. You know? And so, but the way these archonic attachments work, I consider them kind of with rat-like consciousness. I mean, not too smart, but smart enough. Mhm. And so they're run back thought loops to you. I don't think they're aware, but when there is a thought and it gives a nice hit in negative chi, let's call it luge, they're
Yes.
they start running this. And so they have obsessive thoughts, loops, running back and forth. These are those archonic attachments. And so sometimes they're sent by dark magicians, Anunnaki or others. They're like rats somebody plants in your basement to mess with you. Or they're attached, like as free Ronins, so to say. Like an also outside rat might just find the basement. So the different ways.
Very interesting. Yes, I've actually had experiences with them myself, so I'm a believer. But I got to the point where I realized what was happening, and then I could catch them in the act. And it was really interesting what happened when I would catch them in the act, because they had no choice but to withdraw. And of course, I would tell them, this is my reality and my sphere, and I do not give you permission to be here. There's lots of other people to go feed on, besides me. You're going to have to work it out, but you're not feeding on me anymore. I actually got really good results from that, really good results. So that was interesting. Now, I want to just sort of shift gears for a minute here and ask you something else. Now, I've heard it said, I'm not someone who really readily remembers my past life experiences, but I've heard it said that we have been all kinds of people in the past. We've been good people, we've been bad people, we've been victims, we've been victimizers, we've been all over the spectrum of what humanity is capable of, and that's what gives us our soul development or our learning experiences. And so I'm just wondering if you would agree with that, and if maybe when we are haunted, whether it's conscious or unconsciously haunted, is that part of our karma? Is that part of our kind of because I often wonder, like today we have some really horrible people on the planet doing some really horrible things. I don't want to get into it because that could be a whole show all on its own, and it's a very depressing subject. But I like to think that they're not getting away with anything. And I just wonder what your perspective is on that.
Well, with the last one, I took a note of that. So that's a very tricky subject. But I have been involved in this. So, yeah, archons, the archonic attachment, they can get rid, you can get rid of them quite fast, if you know and if you have the potency. You have to be on a certain vibration to just call them out. Vacant day consciousness after a work day in traffic, you probably won't be able to bust them up. You have to be in a high vibration. Just so about good and bad. So let's first of all say, there are new souls in human bodies with a human experience, and then there are medium souls, the so-called yuppie souls. They're go-getter. We know the rules. Let's go exploit them. Let's check it all out on all levels. The physical world, and then there are the old souls. The brahmanas, the wise ones, the rabbis. Yeah, they've seen it all. They're laid back and they are, want to transcend this reality. And so they've seen it all. Now, once you start looking, honestly on your past lifetimes, and it's, you may have to get pushed into this, by through suffering or through a good healer. You might find out that you have been really bad.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, bad, as not only a human, but also in other life forms. You know, um, Anunnaki life forms, reptilians, all kinds of life forms, and some have killed thousands, some millions, some killed whole populations,
Mm-hmm.
races, Atlanteans. Oh my God, there were wars going on. The scientists just, created plagues and whole populations, reptilians, nagas, whatever, get wiped out.
Mm-hmm.
So, or even planets, and this is like more demigod level. And there's a huge guild around. There are sometimes a huge populations that are stuck on the astral plane to this trauma. This is where you can't go there unless you have access to God love. There's so much pain.
Mm-hmm.
So wait, let me just refresh here. It's clear, clear, clear. Beings of love and light, help clear. Make sure this doesn't attach to anybody. Anybody hears this, agree, the more the better. Just not yet. Yeah, I mean, there's so much trauma, pain, stuck on Earth, in this galaxy, you could say.
Mm-hmm.
It's a contamination. So when you start accessing love, when you get into that lower astral plane, onto the higher astral plane, you encounter all this pain, as an empath. So the thing is, as humans, we have the right to call in those, I call them airstrikes. Calling on the highest, please clear this. I don't agree with this, please clear this. Clear all the souls, reunite them in the ascension temples, etc. So this is what I like to do. It always comes back to this. When I find out somebody was a king and got slain and tortured in a battle and cursed and all this, I make sure the whole army, goes, and if there were any demons involved, Rakshasas, they're going to the courts of divine justice, and everybody, the battlefields get cleaned up. The portals that were created through that darkness were cleaned up. The entities and energies that came through will go back, So I put the higher entities to work, I'm calling them in. This is my job, I see as a human. Certain things, right? Sorry. Go ahead.
Oh yeah. We I think we do need help. So today, or at least our current society, there are quite a few scary things going on, as I mentioned earlier. And I like to think that justice somehow prevails, even if I don't see the justice in action. And there are some pretty horrible people on this planet who some want to exterminate humankind, all kinds of abuses. And I'm just wondering, rather than just keep repeating the cycle of them coming back as disembodied, stuck beings haunting people in the future or replaying their torment here on this plane, are there other options? Is there is there another way that these people will get justice without, and I'm not necessarily talking about punishment. I just want to say that at one point I was speaking to my spiritual guides about this because I was becoming kind of sick from worrying about it. And they asked me what I suggested that they should do about it. It's not like they were asking me for direction. They wanted to see how I was perceiving things and how I was progressing spiritually. And I said, well, I don't think punishment or torment is necessarily the key or the answer. I said, I think the best punishment would be if they were restored to sanity and with full compassion so that they had full realization of what they had done and how it affected every individual that was affected by their actions. I think that would be better than just putting them in eternal torment,
That is
And
correct.
I'm just wondering if you have any thoughts about that, what becomes of these people. And they must be psychotic because they don't seem to realize there's repercussions for everything. Hi guys, break time for a short message. YouTube will not monetize me, so if you enjoy my content and want to support my efforts, help me to cover my expenses by visiting my shop to buy yourself a beautiful orgone generator. Zendome's Orgonite are my unique brand, and they are ethically sourced, handmade, and double charged for maximum effect. They are only available through my website, www.karenholtonhealthcoach.com. Many people are finding comfort with Zendome's orgone generators, commonly called Orgonite. They are a simple compound which balance ambient energy by converting negative energy and EMF into positive healing energy with many easily confirmed health benefits. They are a simple compound with alchemic and energetic properties. These devices function as self-driven, continuously operating, highly efficient, negative to positive energy transmutation factories. They help diminish the harmful effects of electromagnetic frequency radiation by attracting and converting negative energies, retuning them into new and more healthful sound and light wave patterns. And they help to purify the atmosphere and accelerate plant growth. They also help stimulate positive mood and are a natural remedy for poor sleep patterns. When Orgonite is within range of any corded or wireless electronic device, it will efficiently and continuously transform that energy into orgone as it is being transmitted. This essentially creates orgone energy transmitters out of any and all emitters of harmful negative energy. You can use these devices for focusing the mind, healing, meditation, and for spiritual growth. Zendome's Orgonite are my unique brand of orgone generators, and they are only available through my website. Don't be fooled by imitations. Check out my website to see my latest selection at www.karenholtonhealthcoach.com. That's KarenHolton healthcoach.com. Check them out today. Now, let's get back to the show.
I had quite some encounters with these beings, and I have been one of those beings myself. You know, the things that I have done in other lifetimes, what I was shown, I mean, it devastated me. If I would, tell those things that I did, it could be considered bragging. I mean, it's just damn ego bragging, but for me, it was, horrifying, the implication, the suffering, etc., that I caused. So basically, should I? Okay, so the ghost of Hitler came to me in a session through a client, as well as the ghost of Caesar. And they were very depressed. There was so much darkness around. I really had to pull in the love. Right? Mm-hmm. And they were just completely horrified. And so I asked, through Caesar, all the slavery, what he did in Gaul and so on. I have the great Latinum, so we studied this a lot, so I know what was going on there. So I asked, how many souls are stuck due to the torture, slavery, killing? 26 million.
Wow.
26 million. And their curses and, their pain and their anger. Hitler, and asked, also, so what made you do so? I mean, how many loaves of bread and how much wine, how much do you need? And he said, he was, as a child, he was beaten up every day. There was no love in him. He did not know love. It was just all survival, dog eat dog world. Now, of course, he could see, and of course, he suffered for all that. So, I don't really care whether people believe this or not, but as a healer, you get into this. If you get enough potency, they give you heavier and heavier stuff, so don't judge me, just if you're in similar situation where you think, oh my God, what have I gotten myself into? So what I did is I asked my divine councils, I call them ascension teams. They're like experts, I use them all the time. If they could handle this, having all these stuck souls reunited with their loved ones, and I could send them to the Arcturian Love Healing and Ascension temples. They actually have a Stargate, where they bring people into higher consciousness. I have this from other sources too. So, and to reunite them there with lost loved ones, to give them the vision questing according to their traditions, and why this lifetime was experienced the way it was. How much was karma, what was volunteered for, and what was sabotage from the dark side. And then, help show all the hidden stuff, misdirection, spells, curses. And then, with that love, and help with forgiveness, show what happens when there's forgiveness. And it doesn't mean that, they get scot-free, the perpetrators. So I have asked that perpetrators be brought to the divine courts of divine justice. To bring them to the cops, run them through the legal system. Forgiveness just means no personal revenge.
Yes.
If you want personal revenge, you got to incarnate with those guys again and again and again as your boss, as your father, as your brother, and again and again, as your husband, whatever it is. So that constantly you get your nose rubbed into your own curses. See, how it feels like, from a maybe more friendly point of view. Anyhow, so they'll arrange this. And sometimes you have to, not everybody makes it. Sometimes there's special magic on them, or they don't go without their army. They're very loyal to people left behind, or they're kind of trapped in certain ways. And, there are all kinds of cases. And then we have to interview those, and find out and then clear those. So in general, that all works. I have to say, it's just amazing, how this works, but it does. So it's not just humans, I mean, a lot of Atlanteans, aspects of us, they got trapped by the Alpha Draconians and, are still kept in beds and siphoned, and tortured, and we got affected by them. So, there's just a lot of cleanup to be done.
I wonder how much of that residual energy just keeps getting pushed forward into history to the now, which leads to all kinds of global issues, and I'm wondering, so I understand that you, correct me if I'm wrong, but what I'm hearing you say is that the higher frequencies is the way to go. Love, of course, being probably the highest frequency we can express here on earth. I've heard it said that when we pray for those who have passed on, that actually does have a benefit and does help them as well. We can call on spirit guides, we can call on angels and higher beings, whether they are from different star systems or from what we perceive as heaven. We can call on them for assistance. But I'm wondering if you can give some practical counsel to those who are just realizing that some of the problems they're facing are actually negative entity, either attachments or ghosts or something like that. If they've tried everything else and they're still having these problems and they haven't before considered this might be what the problem is, what advice or what process do you recommend for these people?
Well, I mean, you check whether you have ghosts or not, right? Basically, find that out. I mean, any decent psychic, I would say, he should be able to tell you, how many ghosts are attached to you, how many hitchhikers, how many karmic ones, where they're coming from, how many curses on you, how did you earn those curses, how many jealous lovers are following you around, screwing up all your relationships. That's a decent, psychic or healer. Otherwise, if you just Reiki, you can work if you're blue in the face. And if there is an old general that hates your guts, that is also, a shaman, like you have an old Han shaman general. I mean, you're screwed. I mean, you can do whatever you want. Yeah, being a yogi, being a vegetarian, keeping your chi up as much as you can will counteract much of this. But, I mean, you got to find out. I mean, take a session with me. That's what I do. I mean, relationship issues. I mean, how many past incarnations did you have with your partner? What happened? How many times did you kill each other? Did you betray each other? You know, did you get busted? You may be illegal. A stable boy with a princess. Or cart off to war. Off he goes to war, or doesn't come back from the ocean. She's pregnant, or horrible things happen. So many times vows were made. I mean, promises were made, revenge verses were made. So if you want to have a decent relationship, you want to clear this. I mean, put the money, where it makes effects. And then people change. They become more softer, more loving. If that trauma clears them. Also, all the thing about reproductive systems. I mean, oh my God, how many births went sideways? Infections, and all this, and then all the rape, that happened. Even nowadays, rape is so common. I mean, in old times, you got away with a lot more. 7 people sleeping in one bed. So, I mean, so there's a lot to be cleaned up for humanity. And what I find, there's a lot of help. There is so much help. In good old times, 20, 30 years ago, you might have to need like, half a session to clear a ghost, clear lifetimes. Now it's just, when the client knows what's going on, they have done a couple, we just do group processing.
Mm-hmm.
And so, and it works super fast, at least, for me. I think the vibration on the planet is going up and up and up, so people are becoming more and more psychic. And so the veils are becoming thinner and thinner, and so we get more and more potency. It's kind of similar as if, there's a little bit more LSD added to the water. Everybody, mushrooms, psychedelics, everybody starts slightly tripping, and just gradually, their point of view changes. I don't really like my job, I don't really, I should have something nicer around me or whatever it is, so that's the process.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Now, if someone reaches out to you and wants to have a session, what can they expect during the session? Do you follow a specific format? I noticed that you said that you don't put people into a trance, but you use questioning, like the way that Socrates did, to get at the root of specific problems. Do you want to tell everybody a little bit about your format or what they could expect in a session with you?
I gladly do. So, first of all, it's mostly people, or only people, that watched or did my guided meditations.
Mm-hmm.
And only those that have an effect, where it has an effect on them. Where they feel substantially lighter, where they got answers, where they experienced their subtle body, had visions, those are the people that are coming to me, that resonate, with my personality, with my style. So, and I also, put intent out that I don't get people that don't resonate with me. It's just the pain, that I don't want to put them through, or myself, just a disappointment. So, and whether they're actually advanced healers or not, I run them through the same program. I want to make sure that they're, how to react when they're in front of a divine being, and I don't want to be embarrassed. I want to know exactly what's going on, and make sure they're on the level, their heart chakras open and so on. So I have them ground with Mother Earth, one leg at a time, and the root chakra, and I measure with the pendulum, first of all, how it is without trying, and I measure how much of capacity it is. Some people have nothing. They're very depressed, sometimes suicidal, and generally nobody starts above 50. That's very rare. Mhm. And so I show them ways to purify these, really fast until they're at 100% level, and then their whole body gets surged with earth energy, and the dark stuff swirls out, and they get the Kundalini. And then I connect them with the sun and run a lot of love with the sun, open the heart chakra, clear dark thought forms from others, and stuff picked up voluntarily. You just do a good clear, sun is an excellent purifier. Plus that love, clear the heart chakra as much as possible. Then I do a brain balancing, also sun into the pineal gland, soup up the pineal glands, but then I, do a whole brain integration, super sweet, completely new, nobody does that. And then I hook up this Milky Way galaxy through the crown chakra, all the way, 6 feet, 2 meters up. Run love this Milky Way galaxy, get that all squeaky clean. And then I pull in heaven and earth, energy, and harvest as much as possible, to soup up the heart chakra with smiles. And when there is a certain level reached, I ask Source to open a portal in their heart. And then, I show them how to get it in, how to, absorb that love. And when they have enough, then I ask them how to actually exchange love with Source. This is, awesome. How is that? Not many people cry there, with love. And then I show people how to use this love. So I, run Source love onto their heart chakra and, and see how that functions, whether it's blocked or not, and clear that. Then I blow up their crown chakra to show them how that goes and feels. Then I teach them how to do it with me, make sure they do it right. And then we call in the inner child and, have them run love onto the Source love onto the inner child, then ground the inner child, then blow up the crown chakra. Then we start communicating with the inner child, and see what's going on there. I can see, whether they can communicate, how they communicate, they get faith, and it's nothing high stakes. And when that works, we call in the female high self. And run love with the female high self. So I teach her different ways, teach them different ways how to run love, how to project it, how to use it. And then, once you have connection with high self, we go to business. Ghost clearing, and what do you need most? And generally people tell me, what's going on, certain diseases, fertility stuffs, sexual abuse, relationship issues, And I just asked high self, and, when they communicate with the inner child, they generally get it right. I'm sitting by there, make sure the energy is right, they're getting the right answer, so I'm the training wheels, so make sure they don't go off the deep end. And then we ask the spirit guides, whether they can clear whatever that trauma is, or do we now have to know anything more, and whatever that is, generally liberate things, clear curses. Sometimes you have to know what happened in past lifetimes, so follow that and clear that, and they feel lighter, better, have insight, and like, oh, so how did Granny affect you in your love life? Oh, yeah, show all the different scenes, then, they have realization, stuff makes sense. Their life simplifies realizations. So that's the process.
Wow, that's really comprehensive. So I have watched a couple of your guided meditations, and I want to highly recommend your channel to the listeners and the viewers. Of course, the links will be below. If you want to check out the guided meditations, which are absolutely free, and then that will put you in touch with some of the sacred knowledge that Wolfgang has, and possibly, do that before you contact him for a session. Now, are you able to do these sessions? I understand you can do them equally as well on Skype or Zoom. Is that correct? Because there's people all over the world that need help.
Yeah, actually, I have clients all over the world. I mean, New Zealand, lots in Australia, I mean, all over Africa, I mean, northern, southern, of course, Europe, lots of Irish,
Mm-hmm.
they're all Atlanteans, so they're coming from everywhere,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
and um, so, and I used to do New Age shows and demonstrate, how to use a wand on people.
Mm-hmm.
And I was very successful. I blew people's minds. So the security guard, when they saw me first, with a warrant and crown thing, they all thought, what a nutcase. So then after the shows, when they seen me like zipping up people, and they're going like, those dudes, they're all, you know,
Mm-hmm.
they all showed big respect. I always thought it was very funny. So I, basically I can the sheet transfer, can go over Skype and Zoom. It's not Newton's physics, it's quantum physics.
Mm-hmm.
You know, if I, given, let's do an experiment. Do you like an experiment? Mhm. Uh, so first of all, we ask that nothing dark or negative is being transferred to anybody here. So I'm going to pull in source love, and everybody else, you too. You smile like an idiot, like really hard. That means you're open to the higher mind, to love and light. That's what this means. It switches that on. This means, I'm survival mind, don't mess with me, jealousy,
Mm-hmm.
envy, anger, this is smiling. So you got to smile to get love. All right. So everybody smile and see, I'm going to project love into this area here, and see if you can feel anything there. Right. So smile and three breaths. Imagine we do this for 10 minutes or for half an hour. Or my sessions are 1.5 hours. Right? So yeah. Um, yeah, so check it out and see how it affects you. You can, I mean, my meditations are quite long. You can sit on an office chair, and that way you're more aware, more conscious, and you're probably more aware of the answers you're getting, to the questions. And if you lay down, you're probably gonna pass out, but for many people that's an issue, falling asleep. So,
Yeah.
and you have protection, you have a soothing voice, so you make progress. This is way better than not listening to this and falling asleep. So it's a good thing. Try it out. It's free. Also,
Mm-hmm.
my prices are very reasonable.
Mm-hmm.
So what I can do in a short time, still
Wonderful.
very reasonable. Yeah.
Wonderful. That's important for some people for sure. So we're almost out of time. I'm wondering, Wolfgang, if there's anything else you want to tell the listeners and the viewers about our topic for today or about what you do or anything you're just compelled to say. Please, I want to leave you room for that. And then
Mhm.
when you're finished, tell us again where people can find you. The links are in the description below. There are a lot of people who will be listening to this on an audio podcast because they have to drive long distances or do different things. And just to put it in their mind where they can find you, that would be really good too.
Well, any podcast, major podcast, and all my videos are there. So you can listen to it. You can even watch it. So they have this now. So just look for Tools for Ascension by Wolfgang. Tools for Ascension by Wolfgang. And then you will get it. Whether it's YouTube or any of the podcast station. And then pick whatever you feel attracted to, I would say. In general, I advise people to smile, even if they don't feel like this. When you smile, you tune into your higher mind. When you frown, you tune into your survival mind, and your consciousness is that of a fly once you start looking for the garbage. When you smile, you become more like a butterfly. You're looking for the beauty and the nectar in life. So the angels can be pouring buckets of love onto you. If you frown, you're not going to get a drop. Very, very important. The other thing is, learn how to open your chakras, how to ground with the earth, how to open your crown chakra, how to open your heart chakra, get control over these energy systems. If you want to be happy, this is kind of the root cause. I've been around saints and all kinds of yogis from all kinds of tradition, and I just look at the light body, and you can see what they're at. Many of them are scholars, so you can see, you pick the saints just from their energy. I think that is, nice upper heart chakra there. So, learn this. This is probably one of the fastest ways of changing your consciousness. And also, when your consciousness is high, then, coming from love, you ask for those things that you would like to have. Don't ask for revenge and hurting people. And the angelics, they won't help you with that. They take your power away if you misuse your power. Use your power only for the highest good. And this is some also really important. And whenever I do any spiritual work, I always ask that this is going to be for the highest good, in divine harmony, with the most benevolent outcomes. We all know those stories about the genie, and so, where people ask for their 3 wishes. And I thought always, what would I wish for? Of course, 1,000 more wishes right away. But, um, the thing is, it always went sideways. Always sideways. Even if it's our best intention, when you look at it and it goes extreme, which we always like, it goes sideways. So that's why I put this disclaimer on this. Please happen this intent if it's for the highest good and divine harmony with the most benevolent outcomes. Otherwise, the more power you have, the more damage you can do. That's the lesson that Anunnaki, that we all learned in Atlantis, and wherever we were in that positions of power. And most people that listen to this probably have been in Atlantis, and have been ETs coming into Egypt, portaling in, and also visiting Atlantis, and having been even, gardener races for this planet here. I'm pretty sure. If you have an upliftment of energy, you're one of those. Right? I'm not going to stay neutral here.
Well, I know one thing is a smile is very contagious, and good intentions and good feelings is also contagious. We affect each other, and I believe that we need to become the change we want to see in the world. And that starts with me inside myself, working on myself and being able to hold the frequency and to be a more kind and loving person. And it isn't always easy, it's easy when things are going smoothly, but when things get rough, then it becomes more challenging. And the other important thing I learned was that forgiveness is something I do for me. So if I have a bad experience with someone, I'm not absolving the other person from what they did, or it doesn't make it right, or, doesn't get them away with anything. It's because I can detach and get on with my life and be in my happy place. So you've given us a lot to think about today, Wolfgang. I really appreciate you coming on the show and sharing your wisdom. Do you have something else you want to add?
Yes,
Please
you
do.
just triggered something. Yes. So, you talked about adversity, and, the British would say having a stiff upper lip, which is, of course, the worst thing you can do. Yeah. But
Yeah.
basically, love is the drug.
Mm-hmm.
When you can access, the more love you can access from the Earth, from Milky Way galaxy, from beings around you, whether you have 40 cats or, you talk to the trees or the angels, get your love wherever you can and exchange, don't just suck, the vampire, you know. But especially the best love is from source, from the portal in the heart. I like to visualize a portal like a cornucopia. So you see those Christian things like, even Hanuman, it's open. That's kind of that portal to source love. That's the
Mm-hmm.
morphine of life.
Mm-hmm.
So when you're down, you got to start digging, and do some really strenuous breath work. I mean, really breath work, maybe for half an hour, till you open this, and then life becomes bearable. Then you transcend. It doesn't matter. I mean, unless you're in heavy pain, it doesn't matter really. When you have that love, you're fine. That's the way to transcend, really, not through suppression or withdrawal of the senses. No, it's called in Hinduism Atmaram, that you experience the pleasure of your soul,
Mm-hmm.
that you connect, and then, you transcend reality, and whatever happens, I mean, you just live in harmony.
Wonderful. Very, very good advice. Thank you so much. So I want to thank you again for coming on the show. A very big pleasure to have you on the show. Hope you come back and visit us again. And I want to wish the very best for all the listeners and the viewers out there. I hope you have a great week. I'm sending much love and peace and laughter to each and every one of you. And thank you so much for joining us. And we'll see you next week on the Quantum Guide Show. Bye-bye, everybody.
Namaste.
Thank you for joining me for the Quantum Guide Show. Become the change that you wish to see in the world. Subscribe to my YouTube and other channels at Karen Holton TV. Click the like button, leave me a comment, and share this podcast with your friends. Check out my website at www.karenholtonhealthcoach.com to see my free resources and amazing products and services. All the links will be in the description below. As part of the Forbidden Knowledge Network, you will find the Quantum Guide Show with Karen Holton and also the Aliens and Angels podcast on all audio platforms. Until next time, keep up the good work.